Hello, welcome back to the Your Everyday Strength podcast. My name is Josh Sternberg. And if you're just joining us here for the very first time, welcome. Thank you very much for being here. And if you are returning, also welcome. Today's episode, we have a guest that has been roughly 12 months in the making from when we first discussed the idea to actually hitting record. Mr. Nic Andriessen.
Nailed it.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hand it straight over to him. He's going to give us a little bit of an update, a bio, who he is, what he does, all the rest of it. And then pretty much like every other guest episode, we're just going to fucking shoot the shit, see what happens and see what comes of it. So Big Nic, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a little while in the making, this one. I was lucky enough to have you on my podcast, which ended up stopping for a little while. And then we're actually in talks of opening it back up again. And ever since then, I think we've been chatting about me jumping on yours, and just hasn't really happened. So first things first, how do I look?
Good.
Yeah, it's all good. Everything's all good.
Yeah, we're coming through.
Sweet.
The internet's probably just fucking a bit glitchy, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah. That's the way it goes. We're strength coaches, mate, not tech nerds. So little bit about
Exactly.
me, mate. Probably the hardest subject to talk about to myself, but quick elevator speech, I guess. Been a strength coach since I was 18, and I turned 40 in May. So do the math on that one.
Longer than I've been training.
Plenty of years, and first walked into a gym when I was 12 years old. So first started in the gym at a little gym here in Newcastle called Genetics, which was owned by a competitive bodybuilder at the time. And it was primarily just a gym with old steel plates and old Nautilus pieces of equipment that him and his bodybuilding mates used. And I've told the story a few times. It's actually a really cool story. I was training at the time to get better at footy, but I didn't know anything about training. Obviously, I was 12 years old, and I'd just go to the gym, and it was before Instagram and definitely before TikTok and all of those things. But I'd look on Elite FTS and bodybuilding.com and all of those forums and trying to find little workouts that I could piece together. And they were never any good, but at least I was having a crack, and I was pretty consistent with it. So after a couple of months, there was this group of bodybuilders that used to train at that time in the morning every day. And one of them eventually came over into me and said, "You've been training here for a little while now. I see you here every day. You've been really consistent, so you train with us now." And I had no choice but to say yes. They were the scariest humans I've ever seen. And so from that,
welcome into the big leagues.
Yeah, I just trained with those guys. It was purely bodybuilding based, but it was just a really nice indoctrination, I guess, into the world of lifting weights. And so I've kind of carried a lot of that through my life. And then playing competitive footy, when that ended, I needed to look for something to do for work. And it just made sense that training was that thing, because it was really the only thing in life that I was interested in, and the only thing that I was good at. So jumped into that. I've been doing full-time coaching, both in the private sector and both SSE with the teams as well ever since then. I've dabbled in powerlifting, doing some other types of stuff now, but yeah, that's pretty much the journey, mate.
So been doing it for so long, you would have absolutely seen the shift in just everything. Even as you mentioned, right? Like you were utilizing Elite FTS and bodybuilding.com. And I've spoken about it before. Like I was the exact same. First program that I ever ran was off of bodybuilding.com that I just randomly found one afternoon. Forums. There was none of this Instagram world, TikTok, do this exercise, do this workout or anything like that. It was the Wild West. It was the Wild West of internet forums.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's probably part and parcel of getting older, but I do remember those times very fondly. I look back on those days when it was predominantly forums and magazines that you would get your information from, or actual people in the job doing the job that you wanted to do, and the information there was a lot less of it. So I feel like it was higher quality, or at least easier to spot the things that didn't necessarily make sense to you, or didn't resonate with you as well. When you're putting out information in forums and publishing, I guess there's kind of a rite of passage that you have to go through to have a voice, in that it's not everyone with a phone now has a voice and can put out information. There's a vetting process that takes place. I couldn't just write an article and send it to bodybuilding.com and have it published. I could put stuff in the forums, but that got heavily criticized if it was no good.
Back before there was all this sensitivity.
Back before the sensitivity. So I think I look back on those times really fondly, because a lot of the principles that I still use today come from those early days. The hypertrophy stuff from those guys in the gym that were training me from 12 to 14 years old. The bodybuilding.com forums and the old school days before Lane Norton was in front of the camera and he was just writing articles. Or Elite FTS was my favorite one, with Dave Tate and Matt Krokleski, and Jim Wendler was my all-time favorite. Like these old school guys, Louis Simmons, Westside Barbell, which I still use a lot of his principles in the stuff that I do today, and just modernized a little bit or kind of altered to what we do here. But yeah, those guys, they're the GOATs.
It's so interesting though as well, because like very similar. Yes, there's like, obviously there's all this information now and you pretty much nailed it. Anybody nowadays can whip out their phone or go buy an expensive camera, set up a tripod, and fucking all of a sudden they're an expert. Whereas having that vetting process and having those guys that would people would gravitate towards, because they were either doing the thing and had a fucking track record of actually doing the thing, or they were just absolute freaks. So people like Louis Simmons and all the West Side crew and Elite FTS and all that as well. You couldn't not listen to them, because they just had such a track record of everything that they were doing. And you're like, well, fuck, these guys are quite literally the best of the best doing what they're doing right now in this world, that we have to. Whereas now, as you said, there is so much information out there that and it's really easy to become across as like expert. Just talk well, set up camera, you're good.
Yeah.
With what you're doing now, you've kind of mentioned that you're still utilizing like a lot of the principles and the foundations of what you learnt back then. Have you seen a bit of a shift throughout that journey, even within your own coaching and things like that, where as the rise of all this other stuff has come out, where you have sort of chopped and changed or made adjustments and then kind of just been like, well, fuck, the stuff that I've been doing for the better part of 20, 30 years is still working very, very well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's easy to get sidetracked, I guess, or caught up in new and flashy things. But, every time that I've tried to go away from what I do now, I always kind of find my way back, or to some variation of what I'm doing now. I think the benefit of having such a long time doing something is there's no period throughout my coaching and training life that I haven't learned something and kind of pulled that forward into the next phase, which I think is a really cool way of thinking about it. So even, for example, the powerlifting phase, where I was following, I had a coach at the time who was fantastic and got me really strong and really competitive in the weight class that I was in at the time, and followed more of a linear progression type training model. And we utilized a lot of top sets and back down sets in our programming. And I liked that, because I could kind of send it and then pull it back on the back down sets, get a bit of good quality work there, and then move on to your accessories from that. So even I've kind of pulled that forward into what I do now, which is predominantly, a conjugate and concurrent style programming, but I've pulled that top set, back down set approach from the linear in, and also pulled in it's not necessarily changing week to week, where we have small cycles of blocks where we might have a main movement for 3 weeks instead of 1 week, and then it rotates. whereas we keep the accessories through maybe 2 blocks. So it's a little bit of a mix of both. I think that's a really nice example of you kind of try something, find some things that you like about it, pull that into the next thing, and maybe root yourself in a system that's a base of or a collection of a few different things that you like, and you form your own system under maybe one overarching methodology, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And even myself with coaching and things like that, like very, very similar to you, utilizing the different phases of my training journey that I've gone through, because I've gone through just about every training journey you could possibly think of, taking bits and pieces from all of it, understanding and having an understanding of the founding principles behind everything, and then being able to provide, whether it's anecdotal or it's backed up by research or whatever the case might be, being able to provide evidence to be like, well, I actually really like this method. I'm the same. I love top set back downs.
Yeah.
I utilize it in pretty much every single one of my programs. I use it in all of my programming still, no matter what sort of phase I'm currently doing. It's always been one of the ones that has sort of stuck with me the entire time. But as you said, then having an ability to actually be like, okay, well, this is the foundation of the program. This is what we want to achieve. We can use this method from here, this method from here. It's going to achieve a result. At the end of the day, as coaches, that's our only job, achieve a result.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, like you mentioned anecdotal evidence there, and I love that because, I like to think of myself as an evidence-based coach or practitioner, but that doesn't necessarily mean science-based. And I heard someone reference it again recently, but it's something that I've kind of lived by for a very long time. The rise of the science-based coaching, it kind of leaves out the two other prongs of evidence-based, which is that anecdotal evidence or the expertise of the coach and experience of the coach, and also the preference of the client. Those two arms of evidence-based coaching also hold weight, and you can marry that up against the science-based stuff as well, and that then becomes evidence-based coaching. So you need all three, or you can utilize all three. It doesn't just necessarily have to be this is exactly what the science says in a controlled study. You have to do it this way and no other way works. I think that's a little bit short-sighted in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And I think something really important you said there is the client's preference. Because too often, especially with the rise of the science-based lifting and all the rest of it, realistically speaking, like if we think about guys like Louis Simmons, if we think about the Elite FTS crew, if we think about some of the bodybuilding.com crew, you already mentioned like Lane Norton was on there writing forums and things like that for years. That's always been the science backed. And if we really want to utilize and have a look at the breakdown of like what science is, it is essentially just trial, error over a long time and seeing what the result is. Anecdotal evidence is incredibly underrated. And I think that's where a lot of coaches miss out on, is that experience, because they don't have the wins on the board. They don't have that experience. So they kind of just cling to the thing that they're told. Mm-hmm. And then as they sort of go through the years, they're kind of like, oh, you know what? Yes, this is exactly what the textbook said. But if I slightly adjust it like this, it actually works better for a majority of my clients and they enjoy it more. It's like fucking mint.
I've definitely found that throughout the years. So I think earlier on, there was a lot more, what's the next best thing? Or this guy wrote this, I have to adopt this program. Or Jim said I had to do 5-3-1, so I'm going to do that. And now Dave's just released his bench press program, so I have to do 12 weeks of 4 benches a week. And there was a fair bit of that. But
throw Smolov in there for some fun.
Yeah, why not? But that was also information gathering. So, you can look at a study that comes out, or, something that's really flash on the internet now, and it might say that you have to do your lat pull downs exactly this way, otherwise everything else is irrelevant. But that's not also taking into consideration the person that's doing it, the rest of their programming, what else they've got going on the weekend, how they're coming into the gym, how they're presenting for the session, the experience that I've gone through for the last 20 years And I think when you add all of those factors in, it's nice to be able to know what's going on and what are the options that I have available here. But having a top-down view of everything and having a lot of experience in getting the reps, I think is so invaluable. So I guess to answer your question that you asked me almost 10 minutes ago now, I don't chop and change a whole lot anymore. I'm pretty set in how I do things now, even down to a structure of a program. They all look very, very similar in the way that they're laid out. The exercise selection within that layout will change based on the result that we're looking for. But yeah, I've pretty much just got what I've got, and that's what we roll with for the most part now.
Which is perfect. And as you're coming up on what you said, 20 something years of coaching and 21 years of coaching and fucking nearly 30 years of training as a whole, like having that ability to have those things locked in. And even from the perspective of a coach, right? Like clients come to you because they want a result. And especially nowadays, I've got clients coming to me all the time and they're like, oh, but I saw this on Instagram. What about this? And I saw this, but what about this? And I saw this. And I'm like, that's all great. I love the fact that, you're looking at different things, you're asking questions, you're coming to me with this sort of stuff. But at the same time, the results speak for themselves. I'm now coming up on, this is my 8th year of coaching, something like that.
And it goes fast.
I've been involved in coaching since I was 13 years old, where I started coaching under 8s AFL.
Nice.
So that's nearly 16 years of coaching technically.
Yep, it all counts.
And yeah, it's like one of those things is it's about having that approach, and you kind of nailed it by looking at a person as a person, not just a data point. Oh, well, this person wants to gain size, so we can only do this, we can only do this rep range, we can only do these exercises in this angle, in this path, and blah, 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 fucking blah.
Yeah.
It's like, how does a person come into you one week versus the next? Because you work face-to-face still with clients.
Yes, every day.
Give a little bit of an insight to anybody who's listening at home, or even maybe some younger coaches, about like how much you actually sometimes need to be fucking adaptable.
Yeah, very much so. And that's why I really like the way that I coach at the moment in our gym. So it's everyone does get a program, whether you're a one-on-one client or a gym client. But that program's adaptable on the floor. So if you come and train at our gym here, we have a coach on the floor 8 hours a day. And that, whether it's myself or my other coach that I have working here, and we're both very well qualified to make adjustments for you based on what you have going on. If you present with an injury, or you've had a big week, or you've had a big weekend, or you've got a big week coming up, you've got extra stuff on your schedule that you weren't aware of, we can liaise with your physios. Pretty much every physio in the local area has my email address and emails me regularly. If a client tells them that they come here, they'll email me. I can make adjustments to those programs on the floor based on what we see the client coming in with. And I think that is so important, mate, because people are paying for a result. And if I just give them something that I know is not the best option for them, I feel like that's bordering negligence on my part as a coach. So I do take that part of what we do pretty seriously here. Is we are very much adaptable, very much, one, we're going to get you a result, and two, we're going to do what we can every single day to make it enjoyable while you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, like, what was it that made you A, start your facility, and B, go down the route that you have gone with that? Is it something that's you've noticed was a little bit of lack in the industry, or where has that sort of all sprung from?
Mate, that is a fun story that I don't think I've ever told publicly. I've wanted a facility of my own for 15 years, at least. It's always been my goal, to the point where I lived over in the States for a long time. And while I was over there, I had the opportunity to manage some big box gyms while I was coaching as well. And I jumped at it because the way the management structure was set up for those facilities was there was a club manager in each gym, and they got to treat that gym as if it was their own. So I got to hire and fire everyone on the team as I saw fit. I got to go deep dives on the actual like club P&L every single month and make decisions based on what we saw in that P&L. I had a district manager that would come and do monthly visits with me where we would sit down for an entire day and go through every single line of that P&L and implement strategies in the business based on that. So it was a really nice experience on not just coaching, but how to actually run a business and how to run a facility. And I learned so much during that time that ever since then, all I've wanted to do was open my own gym, but that's terrifying. So there was always a part of me that like I wanted it so bad, but I would even be happily to admit a little bit scared to go all in because I'm not the youngest bloke on the planet. I've got a wife and family that I have to provide for. So what if it doesn't work out, and what if I can't take home enough money each week to look after my family? So it was always quite scary, but I was lucky enough to be renting a spot up on a mezzanine here in this facility that I'm in now, running my one-on-one sessions, and everything was going really well, really nicely. The guy that owned the gym that was downstairs in the facility, just ran a few classes in the morning and a few classes in the evening. So outside of those times, I had the whole place to myself, but I had none of the responsibility of actually owning the place. So it kind of felt like I did, but I didn't. And then out of the blue, about 10 months ago now, coming up on 12 months, he came in for a meeting with me and just said, I'm done. I'm shutting 2 of my 3 facilities down. I'm going to focus on the one of them. So that means you have the option. You can either take over and move downstairs here and take over the whole spot, or you're going to have to find somewhere else to run your business out of. So it was a nice little kick in the pants because I didn't really, it was the week between Christmas and New Year's. Terrible timing to be trying to find a new spot. So I just bit the bullet and said, yeah, I'll just take over. I'll just take over the spot, and went out and sourced a bunch of equipment and set the place up how I wanted it, and closed down sessions for a week and painted the whole facility myself in a week and brought the equipment in and got it all set up, and away we went. And it's been a whirlwind, and yeah, coming up on 12 months now, we've gone through a couple of different iterations of how the business looks and runs. But what we've settled on now is something that I'm really happy with and really proud of.
Yeah, that's sick. It's honestly crazy sometimes how, like, if this has been a goal of yours for so long and it just took a little bit of maybe a kick in the ass from the universe or from just a little bit of a push to be like, all right, fuck, I'm going in. I'm going all in on it. And like, I know through following you, and I've known you for a while, you and your wife, you guys work together. Like, you're a team. It's a full team system.
Yeah, for better or worse.
How do you find that element, and how much of that was like with both of you together sort of going in on this? How much did that just make it a little bit of an maybe easier decision to make, or it still wasn't easy?
No, I mean, in some ways I think it was easier, and in some ways I think it was harder. It's definitely really, really nice to have my wife, who is genuinely my best friend, involved in the business, because it's just, I love what we've built. I love what we do every single day, and I find great joy in being able to share that with her every day. But it definitely comes with challenges, and I think that knowing that we were in this together, and there was no option. There was no second wage coming in. It's not like she had a day job that if this went belly up and I wasn't making enough money, we could just live off that for a little while and cut back. It was, we're both in this. This is the only income that we have. So it was all in from day one. And I think that that's been scary, but also really, really fun to do together.
Yeah, a bit of a burn the boat situation.
She would probably say that she wishes I was more of a husband than a business partner. But We'll get there one day.
Someone's got to steer the ship.
Someone's got to steer the ship, man.
Someone's got to lead the course.
That's right.
With that, within your actual business, like give people who are listening like an actual insight into what it is you do, because I know even just doing exercise science at university and then also having worked in and around some of the biggest names in the world, being mentored by some fucking phenomenal people.
Yeah.
What was a big shock to me was to actually see exercise science at university versus real world application. So give the people who are listening an actual insight into, what it is you do and what your specialty is, because I love watching you train your athletes. I love watching like all your content online and things like that, and seeing you shift from the Nick I met who was powerlifting and big and fucking massive. And I remember you walking into Nexus and I was just like, who the fuck is this guy? That was back when I was also quite big too. So it was like the boys. So yeah, just give us a little bit of an insight into that and like how that actually come about and yeah, what it is you do.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I work with anyone that wants to get fitter, stronger, more powerful in any capacity. So true strength and conditioning, no real specialty, although I do work with a lot of contact athletes, rugby union and rugby league. And that's because that's any different than any other S&C, I guess. It's more probably just because that's what my passion is. That's what I was best at as an athlete. And that's where my athletic career started. So I think that naturally that because I'm involved with a few different teams as well, those guys and girls have gravitated into the facility here to work with me. But there's also some 50-year-old ladies in here that get amongst it. And we've got some volleyballers, we've got some swimmers, we've got long distance runners, triathletes, netballers, just people that do high rocks, people that don't compete at all in anything, but just want to take their training seriously and don't want to just do bodybuilding, but also don't want to just go for a run. They want a little bit of both. And so I've built this facility where it's the best of all worlds, I like to say. You and I, before we hit record, were talking about you training this morning and recently at a new group fitness, high intensity style box gym, and how good the community environment is in that facility, and everyone just getting around each other and the support that you get and the hype that you get and the friendships that you get in that community. I find that I love that. That's what I love about team sports. And that's, I think, in my personal opinion, the best thing about group fitness and functional fitness classes. I think it's fantastic. So I wanted to bring that element into a more custom, work on your own schedule, one-on-one feel of personal training / coaching, and how do we combine the two? So in our facility, say, Josh, you sign up with me or with Enzi, you have 24/7 access to the facility from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning and 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the evening. We have coaches on the floor 8 hours a day. You can come in, you have a program that's delivered to you via Team Builder. You can come in during those 8 hours a day at any time and complete your program. You can either come in at 3 p.m., 3:30 p.m., 3:05, it doesn't matter. There's no set class start times. But when you're in here, you get coached by a coach that's on the floor and everyone is doing their program at the same time. There's a community feel to it and everyone gets around each other, but it's not one program fits all. It is specific to what you need to get the best development for your outcome. And I think it works really well.
I think, honestly, man, I think that is the structure of that, the layout of that is something that I definitely believe is missing in the industry. And I do believe that plugs a pretty massive hole, because working for years in big box gyms and then going to a more specialized facility myself, where we were very similar, like when there was coaches in the gym, you had a program that was delivered to you that was specific to you.
Yeah.
But we were there to spot, assist, load, give you a tip if you needed it, like all the rest of it. We were there all the time to help actually get the most out of that program. And create that environment where, you know what, I love coming in at 3 p.m. because everybody who comes in at 3 p.m., we get around each other. We've all got our own individual goals. He might be benching today. I've got squats. I mean, in your facility, you've probably got people who are doing, and then there's someone doing squats, and then you've got the 50-year-old mum who's just fucking coming in to train.
Yeah.
But you're still all getting around each other. You're still all friendly.
Yeah, it's so good, mate. We have, so through the gym, we have 5 different programs that I update each week based on different kind of core goals. And then outside of that, everything gets tailored individually on the floor based on the person that comes in and how they present, like I messaged earlier. But we've also got a little thing going on at the moment too, where there's a little bit of competition between the AM crew and the PM crew. So we've got team builder leaderboards up on one of the TVs here in the facility, and the morning crew, they go so hard so that their scores are up on the screen when the PM crew comes in, and those guys come straight in, and the first thing they do is check the TV, and they know, all right, I know what I'm going on for today. We've got to rack up more points than the AM crew. So it is really cool. We've got a little group chat that we've got going on through WhatsApp where the AM crew will finish their session, and 5 minutes later they're still in the car park, and they're getting stuck into the PM guys saying there's no chance you guys beat that, and then it's pretty good.
That's fucking awesome. I think, yeah, community is just, it's so undervalued in any training journey. And I've done solo sports, I've done team sports, even when I was competing in powerlifting. At the core essence of it, you would probably call powerlifting a very individualized solo sport.
Yeah.
But you and I both know that that's not the case.
No.
Like, without having that community and those people around, like you already mentioned it, the reason Louis Simmons and the West Side crew were as dominant as they were wasn't because they were all just individual freaks.
No.
It was because they were together. You culminate people who, they don't even have to be the best. They don't have to be the strongest, the biggest, the fastest, whatever. But if you get them all together, they're going to be faster, they're going to be stronger, and they're going to be better than they would have been on their own.
Yeah.
And I've definitely seen a shift from everybody wanting to go to these massive big box gyms and all the commercial gyms and all the rest of it, to people actually going and hunting down that community, that vibe, that feeling.
Yeah, massively. I think there's a massive shift in the fitness industry at the moment, and I'm loving it. The rise of strength and conditioning, right? Like jumping, running, strength work, power work, resilience stuff. I'm seeing people that I would never imagine talking about doing resilience work. They're saying like, oh, you've got to move your hips in more than one direction. And I'm like, I would never have thought that you guys, this population would talk about that, but it's happening, and I love it because it's lifting everyone up, and it's cool to see people enjoying training the way I think training should be done. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I was having this conversation with someone the other day that basically my training at the moment, I know everybody calls hybrid and it gets a bad rap for whatever reason. It's the same reason F45 copped a bad rap when it first started and all this other shit. People always criticize the newer thing. And don't get me wrong, the name hybrid rock stars, it's a bit fucking lame. I get it. If I was to actually summarize my training at the moment, if I was to take away everything from it, it is exactly how I was as a kid. I'm running, jumping, fucking around, trialing different things, catching up with friends, like all the rest of it. It's just now a little bit more structured.
Yeah.
And has a bit of a better plan in place, I hope.
Yeah, definitely. I actually, you put a story up, it might have been a story or a post a little while ago, a couple of weeks ago, and it said, this is my training. This is what my training split looks like at the moment. I think you may have tweaked it since then. But it was like a weekly layout of like when you had each thing placed. There was some lifting in there. There was some runs in there. I think it might have been before you got your bike, but there was some group classes placed in there. There was like 2 things a day, I think, doing double sessions a day. And I kind of paused it and had a look at it for a little while, and I thought, this is really solid because I think sometimes we can fall into the trap of over specializing in things, or like hyper specializing in things. And if you mentioned hybrid rockstar or high rocks, I think I've seen a bit of a trend of people that want to do high rocks just going all in on metcons. Every workout has to be a sim, and it's like, that's cool until it's not. And I think there's huge merit in having a solid base of strength, having a solid base of power, getting some hypertrophy work in, doing some runs, doing some metcons. You're going to be a better high rocks athlete if you train with what I would call like a solid S&C program instead of over just being hyper specialized in doing metcons. Like, not every workout has to be wall balls and sled pushes.
There's only so many fucking farmers carries you can do before you're sick of carrying kettlebells around.
So when you put that story up, I looked at it, I thought, that's really cool because there is a nice mix of everything in there. And I guarantee that if you were to go and do a high rocks event, if you spend a few weeks doing sims leading in, you would get really good at doing it because you have a solid base of strength in there. Wall balls are pretty easy when you can squat over 200 kilos.
Yeah, that was basically like, you've pretty much nailed exactly like what I'm trying to get at the moment. Is I've looked at the way in which you see people who do train for high rocks. I've looked at the way, taking all my history of training, and I'm like, man, I don't have to lose my strength to be able to go and do this stuff. Like, realistically, I need to be pretty good at running, and I've been building up quite a good base. I've been like, all right, cool. I'm probably limited in my ability to stack Ks very, very quickly. So what's another way that I can get aerobic capacity without being on my feet? A bike. Mm-hmm. Perfect. What else can I do to make conditioning a little bit more fun? Group fitness gym. Social circle, people who are fucking way fitter, way faster, way better at all that sort of stuff, and still keeping a base amount of strength. And like, my upper body days, they're quite literally bro splits.
Yeah.
It's all the shit we would do if we were trying to be a bodybuilder. And I'm like, cool, you got a 9 kilo wall ball. It's pretty easy when you can, like, when I'm still shoulder pressing 60, 70, 80 kilos, when I can still lateral raise 25 kilos, like, throw a couple squats in and I'm like, sweet, this is fucking pretty okay.
Yeah.
It's easy to carry 32 kilo kettlebells when you can RDL 200.
Yes.
Because you've got the base of strength there. And I definitely think, like, I've even, as I've started to get a little bit more into, you may have seen, like, trying to do some vloggy style stuff with YouTube and just a little bit of behind the scenes as to a few things. I always do what I would classify as market research. So I just spent a fair while watching the biggest names in hybrid training on their YouTube channels and how they do things and all the rest of it. And it's exactly that. The big common theme that I saw from a lot of them was just hyper specification. And we've kind of, like, I'm sure you saw it in your powerlifting years with certain federations who only ever squat, bench, deadlift, and their accessories are non-existent. We've all seen it. And you and I both have come from the same coach who is very big on variety and changing shit up in the off season and actually getting you moving a little bit differently so you don't fuck out.
Honestly, that kept me in it.
Yeah.
That kept me in it. There's no way, and I've said that, I don't actually think I've even said this to him, but there's no way I would have been able to do powerlifting the way I did if he wasn't my coach. There's no way.
And that's the beauty of a good coach, though, right? Like, having that experience and that understanding, and like, even you being able to take that and be like, man, I was able to do this for way longer than I thought I'd be able to, purely because I didn't do it all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got through a comp prep, man, I was off doing the most random shit.
Yeah.
And other people who were just super hyper specific, they're like, no, you can't do that. You're going to go backwards. And I'm like, I added 40 kilos to my deadlift this off season. I didn't go fucking anywhere. Like, I'm not going backwards. I've actually gone forward because now I'm able to do it longer. And I think that was like coming into this transition. And you and I spoke quite a lot when I was transitioning from powerlifting back to play AFL.
Yeah.
Because that was a fucking shift. After 12 years of no footy and nearly doubling my size or over doubling my size, just being able to basically teach the body how to move again, run, change direction, stop. Stopping was a big one.
Stopping's the big one.
And contact.
Yeah.
Everything I did. Oh, amazing.
How do you feel on a day-to-day basis now looking back? Because now you have the benefit of hindsight.
I feel like I would have maybe stuck around in powerlifting longer if I had implemented a few of the things that I do now, even just from the basic stuff like aerobic conditioning.
Yeah.
Because I was always so much of the mindset that like cardio kills your gains and I can't get big whilst trying to keep it like fit and all the rest of it. And what I learned really, really quickly was that just wasn't the case.
No.
If anything, it helped. It's helped my training exponentially by just being fitter.
Yeah. Yeah, and being able to move a little bit better as well.
Yeah. And I think this as well is something that, and I can see it from a lot of different perspectives, but it's shit that we know already. Results take time. And I know myself, sometimes we get a little bit too caught up in the moment and don't pull ourselves out a little bit. And that's obviously why the benefits of having coaches and things like that to give us that little bit of an extra external view. But just realizing that like you can get a lot done over a really long time if you just make small adjustments.
Yeah, I mean, I always like to think of a coach as like a boss, right? If you're in an organization and you work for someone else, everyone that I've ever met, and myself included, when you go to work and your boss tells you to do something, more often than not, you like people say, and I've said it heaps of times, oh, that's dumb. Why don't they just do this? Or, well, that's a stupid way of doing it. Why would I do that? I should do it this way. And people say it all the time. The benefit that the boss has is that they're basing their decisions with information that you don't necessarily have. You don't see the complete picture that they see. So they have a different perspective. They have a different lens that they're making their decisions from. And that's the same way that I look at it as a coach. If I tell you to go and do something, I'm looking at your programming and your overall like program and development that I'm trying to get from you through a different lens than what you're necessarily looking at it through. I have no emotional attachment to it whatsoever. I'm just purely looking at you as a person, you where you're at as an athlete, and the result that you want to get to, and all of the different avenues that I can take to get there. And then I'm choosing one based on all of the information that I have. And I think it's a really nice frame to look at it through, because I think a lot of the time athletes or clients or people in general can just get so caught up in how they feel about a specific exercise or movement or variable of whatever way. They don't have all of the information. So it's nice to have someone that can look through it through a different lens and have a broader perspective to make decisions from.
Yeah, absolutely. Having that subjectivity, I think, is so fucking undervalued for a lot of people. And as human beings, we are emotional. We're very emotional when it comes to the things that we want to be doing. We're very strongly opinionated when we want to do things, and we're very strongly opinionated when we don't want to do things. 9 times out of 10, the shit I didn't want to do in a powerlifting off season was the stuff I really needed to do. And that's why I had a coach to tell me to do it.
Yeah.
Now I've been coaching myself.
You're so in the moment as an athlete.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, I have guys that I talk to now, and they might say, "Look, I want to do this con session on a Wednesday," and I might say to them, "Mate, I wouldn't do that. I would do this instead." And they'll say, "Yeah, but I feel great. Like I did it last week. I feel really good. I'm going to do it this week again." And I'll say, I know that you feel great now, but the lens that I'm looking at it through his 21 years of experience, and I've seen that every single time someone has done what you want to do, X has been the outcome and it hasn't been good. So right now you feel good. Next week you might feel like garbage because you did this. And I can see that coming because I've seen it so many times over the years. In the moment, you don't know that. All you know is how you feel right now and what you want to do right now.
100%. And then even at that aspect of things, like oftentimes when I've even done that myself, and you're kind of like, okay, well, yeah, I had fucking 9 hours of sleep. I ate an extra 500 calories. I've had no stress for 3 days. I hung out on the couch and watched movies all day yesterday. It's like, fucking oath, I'd hope I feel really, really good to come into that session. And then next week you're dealing with, oh, well, now I've had work stress and this has been on my mind and I fucking didn't eat as much yesterday and I didn't sleep very well last night. It's like, okay, yes, this is why we have someone external. And I've been really playing around with it myself, like coaching myself for a while now and really having to like take the emotion out of it and look at it subjectively. And just, you already mentioned like my program, and that has almost had more iterations and changes than I would ever make in another client's program.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of adapting and adjusting on the fly, but I'm not just adapting and adjusting on the fly just on a whim. It's because I've started to identify and be able to be emotionless enough with my own training to be like, well, I can see that, okay, it might have been great once, but if I keep this theme up over the next 4 weeks, it's going to feel like fucking shit. So I'm going to change it.
Yeah, change it quickly.
Yeah, I changed my leg days around. I used to do track on a Monday, legs Tuesday, upper Wednesday. Now, because I've been doing a HIIT session on a Monday morning, all of a sudden the track session on a Monday afternoon has been a little bit harder, but that's then carried into Tuesday's legs being fucking dog shit. Switched it around, put my upper on the Tuesday, legs on the Wednesday. You wouldn't believe it. Feel fucking amazing. It's like, wow. Small adjustments, but that's come from 8 years of experience of how I should feel and what I should feel and all the rest of it. It's not just, oh, I saw this on Instagram, so I want to go try this out today.
Yeah, it's a little bit of education behind it.
You'd hope so by this point. Otherwise, I mean, I say to clients all the time, I'm like, yeah, I coach myself at the moment because I'm willing to put myself through shit that I would never put you through.
Yeah, but that's important, mate. That's so important. I think that the moment you're not willing to walk the walk, I think it's probably time to hang up the boots, so to speak, the metaphorical boots. And I mean, I'm not one of those guys that thinks you have to be shredded or you have to be the strongest guy in the world to be a great coach. But I do think that there's huge merit in understanding what it feels like and understanding what does it feel like to hit a group session on a Monday morning, a track session on a Monday arvo, and then roll into legs on a Tuesday? What do your legs feel like when you do that for 2 weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row? And if you've never done it, you wouldn't know. And I think that that's where the value in walking the walk is. It's not so much that you have to be a great athlete to be a great coach, but I think that you have to have an understanding of what the athlete goes through in order to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, fucking absolutely. And that's one of the things that I've always said, even back with the powerlifting days and things like that, is I feel like, yeah, I was never the strongest. I was never the biggest. I've never been the best athlete ever since I was a kid. That's why I got into coaching so young. I was always okay and good enough to learn, but never the greatest. And I was always content with that. And that's what I think has guided a lot of my coaching and my principles over the years, is still just having a fucking crack so I can know what it feels like.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to go and put 200 to 300 kilos on your back and then have to go the next day and bench press? Well, your elbows are going to suck. Your shoulders suck. Your back sucks. Everything sucks. Everything sucks and you don't want to fucking do it. But if I hadn't gone and done that, I can't sit there when a client comes to me and goes, oh, my elbows are sore. And I'm just like, oh, okay, that's weird.
Yeah. But on
there's no value in that.
It can also help you, if you know what it feels like, it also gives you a little bit of credibility to say, no, I know that it's hard. And I'm asking you to do it anyway because I did it and I know that you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it creates buy-in from a client. And that's definitely been like, as I have shifted more to the style of training I'm doing now, taking that experience with me and all the rest of it, a lot of the clients that I'm working with now, probably very similar to yourself when you made that transition, are the kind of people who have potentially been doing very similar training for a long time. They just want something a little bit different. They do want to move a little bit better like they did when they were a kid or a teenager, or they want to go for a run with their kids, but they've been lifting heavy weights in the gym for fucking 20 years and now their back's shit. Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Having that ability and that understanding to be like, yeah, you know what? What are the few things that are probably going to happen? Your shins are probably going to hate you when you start running. Your knees are probably going to hate you. This is what I dealt with shin splints for 12 months. It was fucking horrendous. It was the worst pain I've ever been in my life. And I remember hearing people complain about shin splints, and I would be like, oh, that's not that bad. You know, I've torn my patella, I've fucking torn my quad, like blah, blah, blah. It's like, whatever. It's just like the shin is inflamed. It's fine. And then I dealt with it. I was like, this is the worst thing in the fucking world. Yes. But now I'm so hyper aware of if clients come to me and they're like, oh, I'm starting to get like consistent just pain through the shin. I'm like, sweet, we've gone too fast, too soon. We're going to be dialing this back. And being able to adjust. Whereas if I hadn't had that experience of actually going and doing it myself, unfortunately, it would honestly just end in my clients ending up in a shitter position.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I did recently dealt with a very similar situation with one of the guys that I work with who's come from powerlifting into playing rugby league this season for the first time in his adult life, and gone from zero running to pre-season at probably the best, if not the best, top three local rugby league sides in the country. Very, very high level of conditioning involved in pre-season. It's not just pub footy running around the park. It's very systemized. It's very hard with a lot of kilometers. And there was a bit of prep work that we were able to get done before that started, but his final powerlifting comp ending fairly close to the start of preseason, there was only so much that we could get in, and we did what we could. Started to get some signs and symptoms of some lower limb pain in the shin splint area, and was able to dial it back and kind of get his con off feet and work on some landing stuff and some foot mechanic stuff, and he's in a pretty good position now, which is nice.
See, that's the thing though, right? Like having that ability to understand when to push the needle, when to pull the needle back. Again, it all just comes back to, this is a great reason why we have coaches. It's a great reason why people come and see you.
Big fan of coaching.
Yeah, with that, actually, I want to quickly touch on that. With field sport athletes, and especially maybe not at like the top of their field, or there might be, you know, a Div 2 team or something like that. Have you seen a shift in those sort of people actually going and getting individualized coaching? Because I know that years ago, it wouldn't have been very common. They would just rock up to training on a Tuesday, Thursday, beers Thursday night, game on a Saturday. That'd be it.
Yeah, I mean, there's still plenty of that.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of our members here, so at Enzi, the facility that I work at, but then also online coaching that I do, are those types of local level athletes that some of them want to bridge that gap into a more professional system. Others just want to be the best that they can be locally and get the most out of their sport on the weekends. And I think that the private sector and the private space is great for that. One thing that I always say, as to kind of speak to the benefits of private S&C for team sport athletes, is if you're in a group of, what's the team that I'm working with at the moment, we're kind of finishing off our preseason at the moment, and in our top grade group, we've probably got between 50 and 60 guys on the park that run through the 2 15-minute con blocks all as one group. So when I'm programming for 60 blokes, I'm programming for the middle ground where the most guys can get the best benefit from it. And we use MAS, and it is is tailored. But even in the MAS prescription, there's 3 groups. So they're even grouped. The top guys in that group are probably not getting the exact MAS prescription that they need. The bottom guys in that group are probably getting a little bit too much for what they need for the exact energy system that we're looking to develop. But I always try and say, like, if you want to get something that's specific to you, the top guys in those groups are going to miss out on some gains. The bottom guys are probably going to get a little bit too much and cook themselves a bit. The middle ground are probably going to get exactly what they need. So if you're on either end of that spectrum, there's a massive benefit in coming and seeing private S&C coach, whether it be online or in a facility, and getting something that's tailored specific to you that can either bring you up to the pack or keep you ahead. Because your Monday, Tuesday training sessions, for me, that's the bare minimum. That's buy-in, right? Like, if you want to play sport, that's the bare minimum that you can do. And if you're happy just doing the bare minimum and your team training, that's sweet. But just understanding that you're leaving progress on the table and you're giving an advantage to the other guys and girls who want to come and work on themselves outside of those 2 to 3 training sessions a week, because there's heaps and heaps and heaps that you can do outside of that is going to move the needle forward. And that's kind of the space that we operate in.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. It fills a spot in the market that would otherwise be left. It just isn't there. That was one of the biggest things when I did go back to footy last year, was I saw a pretty stark contrast of dudes who quite literally, well, they won't even turn up Tuesday, Thursday sometimes. They just rock up to a game on a Saturday. And then they wonder why they're getting injured and they wonder why they're getting hurt and they're tearing a hamstring and their calves are gone and their fucking feet are fucked and all this.
Yep.
And then some of the other boys who saw me, now again, I was not the best athlete because I couldn't really fucking run for a majority of the year, but I was still, in the gym on my other days of the week doing my strength training and doing all the rest of it. And they were kind of like coming in and they're like, oh, so how do we do this? And how do I strengthen this? And how do I not tear my hamstring again? And I'm like, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
That's where we fill the void.
100%. That resilience piece and that keeping you on the park piece is so big. One of the sayings that I picked up over in the States, and I love it and I use it so much here, is an athlete's best ability is availability. Because if you're on the sideline, it doesn't matter how fast you are, how strong you are, you're no good to anyone. I think a lot of the work that we do here in the gym with targeted S&C and resiliency work and keeping you on the path, you don't know how beneficial it is until you don't do it anymore. Because that's when you're going to go into these games. You might feel strong, but you might be underdeveloped. Your hamstrings might not have enough strength at length, and then you're loaded at high speeds in a lengthened position and something goes wrong. If you're able to tolerate that because of the work that you've done in pre-season, moving into in-season, it's not going to be an issue. And if it is an issue, that's when you miss games. I put up some crazy stat last year, and touch wood, I can only pray that we have a year this year like we did last year, but I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was something like 75 athletes that I worked with last season on an average played a 25 game season, 16 to 25 game season over those 75 athletes in various sports. And we missed a total of 4 or 5 games through non-contact soft tissue injury. So if you go 75 times an average of 23, for example, that's a hell of a lot of games. To only miss 4 total from non-contact soft tissue is a pretty good stat. And I'm not saying that I'm the reason for that, but you don't know how much beneficial that resiliency work is until you don't have it. And when you don't have it and you do an injury, that's when you wish you did.
Yeah. Oh, I genuinely believe that my history and strength kept me on the field. Like, I managed to play every single game. Yeah, I had the shin splints and all the rest of it, but having the base level of strength and continuing to push strength and all the rest of it and creating that resiliency in the tissue and the body as a whole, I know for sure, like getting tackled, tackling, getting fucking weird angles, jumping, landing, spinning, change direction, all of it, that kept me on the field more than anything.
Yeah.
Because if you've got weak muscles, untrained muscles, they're not going to be doing anything for you good long term.
No, it all starts with strength. Power can't exist where strength doesn't exist first. So to be powerful, you got to be strong. We know that power's a great asset in sport. If you're weak and slow, you're more susceptible to being in bad positions as well as not being able to handle the impacts and things like that as well. So it all kind of works in together. There's so many benefits to the gym. I think gone are the days where you can just rock up and run a few Broncos and call it a day.
I agree. I agree. I think we've covered so many different benefits, and not even, I think we've even just covered a lot of different ways people can look at their training, different modalities they can do that are all going to benefit different aspects, the social aspects, just everything. So I think that perfectly fucking covers it.
Yeah. Do we land it?
To give a bit of a plug, let everybody know where they can find you, the gym, socials, all of that.
Yeah. So the gym is ENZY_HQ on Instagram. We're in Mayfield, Newcastle, New South Wales. I would love if anyone is in the area to come in and check us out. I'm more than happy to give out a 7-day pass for anyone that reaches out to come and try us for a week. I think that after a week, you'll know whether this is for you or not. Myself on Instagram, I've only just changed my handle. I think it's now Nic Andriessen, Andriessen. But yeah, you can find me through the Enzy page. I'm trying to get better at socials. I'm trying to share a little bit of the journey and things that we do here, but it's definitely not something I'm super comfortable with at the moment, but doing my best.
Hey, it's all part of the journey. It's all part of the fun. Yeah, but no, that's good, man. Before we fully wrap up, I do have 3 questions that I ask every guest. So strap in.
These are going to be a surprise.
So, firstly, if you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Just keep going.
Keep going?
Yeah, just keep going. I think there's huge merit in just putting one foot in front of the other and having the stubbornness and the determination to just keep going and to just turn up one more time, and only good things can come from that.
I love it. That's perfect. Your favorite animal?
Hippo.
Hippo, okay. Why? That's the first time I've copped hippo.
I just think they're cool. They're a cool animal. They only carry like 5% body fat, even though they look like huge bloated, floating things, but they're just like massively muscular, just insane animals. Hippos, I think would be up there. My number one favorite animal is my American pocket bully, but he's pretty much he's a house hippo. That's what we call him.
Perfect. I love that. You went and found a dog version of your favorite animal. Good.
So a hippo and a house hippo, they're my 2 equal favorites.
Perfect. I love that. And last but not least, what does strength mean to you?
I'm trying to think of a concise answer for you, but the first thing that popped into my head was strength is just my entire life. Strength literally means everything to me. My entire life is built around strength in some way. Strength of character, strength training, getting other people strong. It's all I've ever done, and it's all I will ever do. And it literally means the world to me. So I know that's probably not the answer that you're looking for, and it's not some cool answer like it means, getting the peanut butter off the shelf, when you're 80 years old and all of those cool things. But it's just, strength is just everything to me. It's my entire life. Everything that I do revolves around it, and I'm super grateful for it. I'm grateful that 12-year-old me was able to convince my dad to take me to the gym before school every single day, and wait in the car park for me, because it has literally shaped 40 years so far of my life, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
I fucking love that. No, that question is, you've answered that almost perfectly, because everybody's interpretation of strength is so different. And the whole thought process when I first launched this podcast is I wanted to represent strength, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, strength of character, spiritually, like what does it actually mean to individuals? Because it's so different for everyone. And at the essence of everything, we already know that the basis of all training is strength. But the fact that the first thing you said was strength of character before actual physical strength tells me that at the same time, like as a human being, the basis of everything is still strength.
Mm-hmm.
So I fucking love that, man. That's perfect.
Yes, it's a tough world, man. We've got to be strong to survive.
Exactly. But no, I do appreciate your time today. I will put all of your contact details in the show notes and everything like that as well. They'll all be linked. So anybody who wants to find Nic will be able to find him. This will go up on socials. I will collab with him, so you'll be able to find it through there as well and through Enzi. If you're listening, if you're a coach, if you're training, if you're anything, go and follow Nic, go and follow Enzi and all the things that they're doing. Because as I said, I've genuinely fucking loved watching all the stuff. Although he doesn't love socials, I love watching the things he does put up on socials because it's informative and it's fucking interesting and it's cool to watch the progression unfold with these athletes. So go and give him a follow.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks, man. Before we go, I just want to say really quickly, I really appreciate you having me on your podcast, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure to watch the journey that you've undertaken to starting a podcast through the old facility and company that you worked for and moving that out onto your own and starting on your own and doing everything that you're doing and venturing from the Gold Coast down to Melbourne and following your journey and what you're building is something genuinely special. And the platform that you have here, I'm just really, really grateful that you have allowed me to come on, mate. And again, I don't love the idea of putting myself out there. I probably come off uncomfortable and awkward, and it's because it's hard to talk to a camera. It's not something that I'm naturally good at. I genuinely do appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on and talk about something that I'm extremely passionate about and have a really nice conversation, mate. So thank you so much.
I appreciate that, my man. Thank you very much. And I'm sure there'll be plenty more of you on socials to come now.
Hopefully I'll do my best.
Sweet, my man. Stop.